Hi guys, John Team Gradelock here. Set 8
Which John?
Set 8 just dropped, so we're about to profile the deck that got least changed by this. Seven Seas. Alright, so let's just get it started right now. The starter is Grenache. We don't start with Peter. I personally don't like starting with Peter because random milling is really bad. I remember one time I tested running Peter and I milled 2 heal triggers and I was just like, nope, no more, nope, done. Alright, but not only for that, it's just the fact that you want this behind your Vanguard in order to kill off with one of your grade 1s later just to set up plays, and you don't want to damage check because its ability is too important. Its ability is GB1 hollow. When it's hollowed and at the end of the turn when it's retired, you unflip 2. Seven Seas is a very counterboss heavy deck, so you want to maintain your counterboss as much as possible, and constantly reviving Grenache because it's easy just helps you with that. So Grenache is important for that case. And we move on to triggers. Run 4 Banshee crit. Nobody saw that. You run Banshee crit because she subs herself to Soul, which is actually important now, and she makes you draw a card. This is actually a very annoying column in the beginning of the game because it's like, why would I even attack Grenache? And then when you go to grade 3, I just shove to Soul and draw a card. So, you know, she's good for that reason. And she's also a crit. Crits are good from what I hear. Then you run 4 Rampage Shade. This is Night Rose's crit. Surprisingly, it actually does make a difference because powering up Night Rose when you call them out, and sometimes even just calling them for Break Ride, having them be 9Ks, it's really weak. And then when you shove them to Soul, make space for Night Rose in order to call stuff, and then set up for other strides is really important and very key. So it's actually a nice addition. And then 4 of these crit. Probably should be the Ghosty that actually has an effect from the set, but Ghoul Cannonball, why not? But if you can get your hands on the Ghosty from this set that has an effect, I believe it's counterboss 1 to revive it. When something else is revived, you should get that. And then 3 heal triggers. 1 good luck charm, because that's how it's supposed to be.
But Dr. Rouge, though.
Yeah, 3 waifus, 1 good luck charm. That's how life rolls. Alright. So now grade 3s. Obvious is obvious. 4 Lord of the Seven Seas Nightmist. Break Ride effect, when a grade 3 rides on top of him, you call 2 units from your drop zone and they get plus 5,000 power, and your Vanguard gets plus 10,000 power. Usually your Vanguard getting plus 10,000 power does not matter at all because you're just going to stride on top of it. And the plus 5,000 power, along with they die at the end phase, does not matter because they're just going to be hollowed and probably going to die at the end phase anyway. So Nightmist is good for extending a lot of plays. Being able to have the 7 Seas Heart is also important, but having an end game where you can have a powerful Break Ride and then follow it up with a powerful Stride makes it very pressuring for your opponent, and you push in a lot of damage when you do it. So having an option for a Break Ride is very important, especially if it's one this good. But besides that, you follow it up with its counterpart 7 Seas Sage Plegaton. Plegaton's effect from drop zone, counterboss 2. At the beginning of the ride phase, you ride it from the drop zone onto a grade 2 or higher 7 Seas Vanguard, and then you just ride it. Its second effect is that when it's placed on the Vanguard circle, you get to revive the unit and then it dies at the end phase. This is really good because now you can play a Break Ride deck without holding your grade 3s, because since it can be Superior Ride from the drop zone, you can pitch it a Stride Father just fine enough, and then you can counterboss 2 later on and ride it from drop zone back again, and it doesn't really cost you anything besides the 2 counterboss, but that's really what Grenache is for. And then the only other good thing about it is that it's a 7 Seas name. If you happen to ride it first, go ahead and revive a critical Banshee, draw yourself a card, and then start striding into Nightmist because you still have the 7 Seas name. Other than that, it's a grade 3 7 Seas that you have to play. Then on to the grade 2s, 4 Rook. I do not want to hear people saying, oh, it's a Granblue deck, run less grade 2s, because then you can call them out from drop zone. You want to call this out from your hand and keep annoying your opponent and the only real units that you want to start calling with Nightmist are like units that, like more Rooks. You don't want to keep just like using your drop zone as your only resource. If you can have a unit like Rook that just drops onto the board and its ability is GB1 it gains plus 2k, and then when it's hollowed, it gains plus 5k. Having a 16k attacker out of nowhere for no reason is really good, especially like since it can constantly be revived by Nightmist. But you want to run 4 just to make sure that you always keep drawing and being able to please keep pressuring your opponent by placing it down on the board. And then you always make sure that you get it out of the way when you run 2 okay, what's your full name? So, Seven Seas Master Swordsman Slash Shade. Slash Shade's effect is that from the drop zone, if you have a Seven Seas Vanguard, when your Seven Seas Vanguard attacks, you can counterblast 1, kill a rear guard, and then revive it with plus 2k. Not only does it extend attacks for you, but hollow units that would just die at the end phase, you kind of just make their skills free by calling a new unit on top of it and getting an extra attack. It's just very easy and very like it puts in more attacks for like very cheap effort, because Granblue's units would be dying at the end phase anyway. And then it's the best card against Shadow. It's the best card against Shadows because you have a Granblue unit that actually stays on the board. And you think running 2, you may not see it as often, but you know, you have cards in the deck that mill for you being your strides and that you can get into the drop zone very easily. Even 1 is okay for, you know, in the mid game. In 2, in the late game, you want to see both of them in order to push your opponent. But besides that, Slash Shade is a good card. Then the deck is very offensive, so why not add a little bit of removal for it? You run 3 Skeleton Cannoneer. His effect is that from the drops, when it's called from the drop zone only, GB1, counterblast 1, you get to, and hollow. Calling it from the drop zone and counterblasting it, you can retire a unit, but if it's hollowed when you do that, you also draw a card. So, being a deck like this, not only since the fact that it's very offensive, but a lot of decks like this don't have retire power, so having a card like Skeleton Cannoneer to just pick off resources is very important and very key. And it just makes good for like retiring a booster and then swinging at the front row. You just limit your opponent's resources if you're down, and you just want to go into it to see more cards if you're running low on resources for defense. Overall, it's really good. If you call 2, you pot a greed and destroy 2 things, so it's actually really good. I wouldn't recommend doing that because then you can't call anything else, but hey, go nuts. Then you run 2 Pirate Swordsman Columbard. His effect is that GB1 counterblast 1 when it's boosted, Yammer Clone, he gets his Superior Call unit from drop zone. I like this card a lot because not only does it extend attacks during a turn, but it also can fill the board if you're like, you know, not drawing into your cards. You just call it out with a booster and call out a Negarrook or like anything that you need to attack with, and like you did it for very cheap effort. Columbard just does like Superior Calling really, really easily, and he just gives you a lot of advantage for having the units in drop zone set up. And especially on turns when you go into a stride like Obadiah and you can't do anything, having a card like Columbard just call out the Negarrook that you milled is really good. And then 1 Poker because you hate Blink Joker when you can't use your rear guards, and this deck loses if it can't use its rear guards. Its effect is that when it's placed on rear guard and you have a Cray Elemental face up, you Soul Blast 1, you unlock the card. Really easy for Granblue because you just send it to drop zone through one of the strides, and then Obadiah, and then you revive it, and thanks to Nightmist reviving it, it's just gonna die at the end phase so they don't lock it. So it's actually the best way to run poker is in Granblue.
Just gotta remember to have a face-up Cray Elemental, John.
Yeah.
That's kind of important.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes. And then you run 4 on flipping Perfect Guards onto grade 1s because deck's very counterblast heavy. You use like 3 to 2 counterblasts every turn, 4 even. So you want to make sure that counterblast can be unflipped to use for later turns, for later uses. And why not? Like, what am I gonna run? What else am I gonna run? I don't have a hollow PG that revives itself for a counterblast 1 to the hand.
But you do have a ghosty PG that could be used for certain other card skills.
Excuse me, sir. Idle booster coming out. Let's think about that again, shall we?
Oh yeah.
No, I gotta protect my rear guards that are always dying from Laurel and from what's his face in the end, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I run 4 Tommy the Ghosty Brothers because striding is really good, and having a stride father that has the name Ghosty is actually really good as well.
Yeah, like surprisingly, that's very amazing. Like, oh my god, it's actually a Ghosties too.
Then you run 3 Nightcrow. Nightcrow is like in my opinion, one of the best grade 1s in Granblue because it's a free samurai spirit. Like, why wouldn't you want that? You could fix boards and freely get a 7k whenever you want. It's funny to call a Cannoneer and then just retire it off with a Nightcrow and have a unit that just like did work and then boost.
If that said you could retire a Nightcrow for its skill, that would be so dumb.
Because then you just keep comboing. I don't know if there's a unit that gains power if something.
Yep, there is.
Oh, well then infinite power. Anyway, and new card that we're testing because I mean this is old, but this is a new card that I'm testing since a new stride came out, and I want to conserve soul as opposed to running Dancing Cutlass. I'm running Head Start Zombie. Head Start Zombie's effect is GB1 hollow. When he's placed on the rear guard, you have to mill the top card of your deck, but if it's hollowed, you can choose a card from your deck and mill it. The good thing about this is that you can freely set up your drop zone just by calling this unit and without having to go into Obadiah sometimes, and you can, like, the hollow effect is really bad, like the fact that you have to mill one and then it's not a +1, but like you just replace it with Nightcrow and then it already did its job. Usually what you want to do with this is you want to send Cannoneers, Slash Shades, stuff that's not going to do stuff with the deck, and then just revive it later on.
You can res it with Nightmist, then search for a Nightcrow, put it into drop zone, then replace it with Nightcrow.
Yep. That's the funny thing. When you just call it, mill a Nightcrow, and then retire it for Nightcrow, it already did its job. Alright. But besides that, we'll move on to strides now. We still run 4 Nightmist because Nightmist is the most stupid and free Granblue card that exists. Its effect is Counterblast 1. If you have a 7 Seas Heart, you call 2 units from your drop zone and they die at end phase. No, that's it. That's literally it. It's so dumb because it's like you get a field for very little effort. You can call a Grenache. If you're very low on resources in hand to call, you just call a Grenache and a Negorook. You swing with Negorook, and then you swing with Nightmist and retire it for Slash Shade, and you got 3 attacks for like barely any cost because that actually unflips all the damage that it did. But besides that, it just freely spams calls. The reason that I feel this deck is better than Night Rose is because you get a lot of calls for very less counterblast, so you can actually use the counterblast of everything. I don't have to abuse Grenache to unflip 4. I just have to use 3 counterblasts and then unflip 2 with Grenache and then do the same thing again next turn and actually have the counterblast to use it.
Jeez, I just realized Nightmist is like a better Dire. And here I'm over here like God, I have to counterblast 2?
Dire is an act ability, right?
Yeah, it's an act.
Yeah, it's a better Dire.
God.
Oh yeah, the thing is an act is really good too because you can set up your drop zone with Head Start Zombie and then call out the units that you want with Head Start Zombie. And then you run Night Rose because having this as an end game with your Break Ride is, well, I like to think of it as a mid game and an end game with it is really good because you Break Ride and you get 2 Negorooks that are 21k columns, and then you stride into this and you just get a lot of multi-attacking because you just replace over the units and then you call more units with units like maybe Columbard or Slash Shade. You just get a lot of attacks with very minimal effort. It's like the only deck that the Break Ride is the only reason that I really like this card, but like the card is also good because of the Night Rose crits. Being able to shove in the soul is really good for another unit in this deck, which is actually, oh yeah, didn't explain it. Counterblast 2, GB2, and choose a face down copy of her and flip it face up. You have to call 2 units to separate rows. So you make a column or you call a unit right here and right here. You can't build a front row or build a back row, which would be really dumb.
You mean like how Dire builds a front row?
You mean how my thing builds a front row for 1 counterblast, right?
Okay, you're getting.
But I get a crit, don't I?
You're getting your support.
I get a crit if I have 2 face-up D-Robos, which is not happening for Stride.
And then the new guy is a Gauche. It's the reason that you kind of don't run what's his face? Cutlass anymore. His effect is Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. You take and then after doing that, you flip a copy of him face up in the G zone. You take the rest of your soul, you dump it into the drop zone, and you call as many units as you dumped, and they all get +1 for every face up unit in the G zone. So after, in games that I've tested, after G guarding and like milling out the opponent's hand. You usually get from 5. You usually get up to +5 or +8,000 power, and that's really strong when you're reviving like 4 or 3 units. And usually you have the soul for that because of the critical banshees or the fact that you don't soul blast besides poker and the night rose crits. And as I was testing before, when you call a 7k and give it +8, it's a 15k booster, and you just retire the Nega Rook that you called because of Gouch with /8, and it's a 26k row without triggers, and that's really dumb. And it's very minimal effort in terms of counterblast. So having an endgame with this is also good because you push them with Night Rose, or you keep pushing them with a Nightmist, because the chain is like this, and if this doesn't kill them, then that should kill them. So that's how the deck is kind of working right now, and it kind of hits a lot of triggers because of the filtering that Head Start Zombie does. I don't want to rely on that, but that's kind of how the deck goes. And then for even more filtering, you run Great Ghosty King Obadiah. His skill is selectively mill 3 units from the drop zone,
aka Foolish Barrier on crack.
And then you, if you mill 3, you choose a normal unit Ghosty from your drop zone and call it.
Mill 2 with Hollow.
Mill 2 with Hollow, and then you choose a normal Ghosty and call it to the back row. So it's a good thing my Stride Assist has that name, right? Because then it's perfect food for Nightcrow.
Nom 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 nom.
Besides that, it's really good filtering. Setting up just setting up a drop zone early on, so you don't have to do it anymore. I like it. I like how this deck is because you never have to randomly mill with /8, so you don't mill triggers, so you just end up hitting them. Or if you're me, you draw them all the time. And
I'm sorry, John.
So it's good just to filter. There's not much more to say about the card. One Blizza, Link Joker's an asshole, so if you end up just getting into a scenario where your pokers don't really do anything, I guess if you're not seeing your poker, I don't know why that would ever happen, but an endgame Blizza where you know if your opponent used up all their perfect guards is really key and really important, and it's a Cray Elemental, so it's the Cray Elemental for, what's his face, poker.
Trying to kill your opponent? Why not Blizza?
2 screws. Screws good in Granblue because discarding a card, sending it to the drop zone sets up stuff, and giving +10 by discarding a Cannoneer is very plus. So
yeah,
giving yourself a 2 to pass just by discarding a unit that you're gonna revive with Nightmist is very good and very important.
Just gotta remember you have to have a face-up unit in the G zone.
Yep.
Face-up G zone, face-up Cray Elemental. These are very important things.
And then new card, Negarulili. She's basically, I don't like her in this deck per se. Her effect is you counterblast 1 and you choose one of your Rigors to retire it. And then if you do it that way, you can choose a Ghosty from your drop zone. It could only be Tommy the Ghosty in this case.
Because it's a normal Ghosty.
And then you call it to open rear guard. But you don't have to do that. It will still gain +10 regardless. I don't like it because if I have to choose between this or Screw, the only reason I'm not doing Screw and doing this is if I have a handful of 10Ks. That's literally the only reason. And that's actually possible in Granblue, but Nightcrow is just there as a 3rd Screw because there's really nothing else to play. I mean, you could play Dismals, but you
want rear guards. What's a rear guard?
And then you run 2 Deep Corpse because it's an easy +10, +5k G guard. It's one of the easiest, but I hate the random milling. The only time I really find this useful is to be honest, if I'm playing against Narukami and they keep binding shit for my drop zone, so I'm like, okay, new drop zone.
Bind that one too.
Well.
Yeah, John, high five for easiest +5s in the game. Yay. Oh, what's that? Police, all that has to do is, what's your power?
You still on
20?
this with Dire. You should
+31. No, I didn't say Dire. Oh, speaking of Dire.
Okay.
Where's my crit?
You burned yourself inside that hole.
But yeah.
You Baldwin, you're supposed to be on my side.
Granblue, in terms of 7 Seas, it's a very consistent deck, and it's very, you always have your offense. You'll always be able to filter out and get your offense whenever you need be. The only time you're sad is when you don't ride Nightmist, but every deck has that one where it's like if you don't ride your A3, you're kind of sad. But that's it. Be smart when you play this. Don't spam 2 Negro Rooks on the board. Pay attention to what your opponent has. If you have to Cannoneer, do it. If you have to Slash Shade, if you have to Calm Bard, you do it. And to be honest, give it a try. I understand it's not running Slash Shade, so it's not the best of builds to most people's opinions, but the Head Start Zombie is a nice tech. Filtering is never bad, and setting up your drop zone with Havoc going into Obadiah is also really good. But,
deck thinning is deck winning.
Yep.
But that's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and comment if you hate me. You probably will hate me. That's the waifu that doesn't appear in this deck. Because, you know, husbando is better. So,
wow.
Yo, but what about Break Ride waifu over husbando?
That's
The Blaze!
We don't want to. We don't have. The woman is not the top. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So thanks for watching, guys. See you later. Bye.